Hi, what's happening, y'all, man? Great news. The Washington Commanders have upgraded center Chase Roullier off the PUP list. He is officially off the PUP list. He is healthy enough to go. Just a few videos ago, I broke down the exact rules of the PUP list and exactly what the PUP list is. And most notably, if you take a player off the PUP list, you cannot put them back. So the fact that they've taken them off, that means he's 100% ready to go. We're good. I remember one of the reporters said that they saw Chase Roullier walk, and I believe it may have been JP Finlay and Mitch Tischler, P. Haley. One of those guys said that they saw Chase Roullier walking perfectly fine, and Tyler Larsen still had a limp when they saw them a couple of days ago. And this just further backs up the fact that he is fully healthy. Again, once you put a player on the PUP list and you take him off, you can't put him back. So the Washington Commanders are 100% fully sure that he's healthy. And so we got to talk about why that's such great news. We got to talk about the other guys that's on the PUP list and what order I feel like they will come back. We already knew Chase Roullier was going to be the one that came back first, just not exactly this soon. And we can also again take a guess at who's going to be the next, and then after that, and who will be last off of the PUP list. Also, we got to talk about how this affects the rest of the team, not only of course regular season wise, but even training camp wise. How does this change practice? How does this affect the depth chart? And of course, we got to talk about how good Chase Roullier is and how underrated he is, even amongst our own fan base. So we're going to take a look at Pro Football Focus grades, his contract, and everything. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure y'all pull up to the Friday night live stream every Friday where we talk about everything, all sports, everything. And also make sure y'all pull up to the Sunday evening live stream starting at 6, where it's the call-in show where y'all can call in and ask any questions you may have, or give any observations, or go on a complete rant about anything, especially involving the Commanders. A lot of training camp stuff going on, so I know this Sunday is going to be really fun. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, so the Washington Commanders officially announced that Chase Roullier has been activated off of the active, physically unable to perform list. Remember, he fractured his fibula in week 8 against the Broncos, and that was a terrible game. You could argue that was our most what is going on game of the season. Like, are we really this bad? And it's kind of funny too, because the Cowboys went through the same thing against the Broncos last year. Man, that game with the injuries and how bad we played, that was just a game I would love to forget. And like I already reported in my previous video, Chase Roullier has been activated off of the PUP list, but also Antonio Gandy-Golden has been placed on the reserve retired list. He is officially retired. He is no longer in the NFL, and I wish the best for him, man. I hope everything works out, man, because he's a really smart guy too, so definitely hoping the best for him. But yeah, man, this Chase Roullier news is huge for us, man. Huge. I mean, our offensive line already has some projected problems, especially chemistry issue wise. We don't have a lack of talent. We're definitely not devoid of talent, but injuries have been killing us for as long as I can remember on the offensive line. John Moscow has just been a mastermind, a straight genius, a wizard, and somehow getting all kinds of changes on the offensive line throughout the season to still produce a top 10, arguably top 5 offensive line the past couple of years. And now that we lost Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff in this same offseason, even though Eric Flowers is still technically available if we really wanted to go get him. But along with losing Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff, we technically lost Chase Roullier to injury. We only had 2 returning starters from the previous season going into this offseason with our tackles, Charles Leno and Samuel Cosmi. And Samuel Cosmi was dealing with injury issues last season as well. But now we've added Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell to the offensive line, and so far I've been hearing good things about them in practice, but it's nice to have all of your starters present, especially Chase Roullier. Now granted, I absolutely love Wes Schweitzer. I mean, y'all have seen me talk about him in live streams, videos, all kinds of stuff. If anybody loves Wes Schweitzer, it's me. I feel like he could definitely start at either guard spot or center spot on several other offensive lines in the NFL. We have the luxury, the extreme luxury of having him as a backup, because again, if there's an injury at left guard, center, or right guard, I fully trust Wes Schweitzer to step in and start there. But ideally, Chase Roullier is just starting center, so that Wes Schweitzer, if there's an injury to Andrew Norwell, Trey Turner, or either one of those guys are not playing well, and Eric Flowers is not available, you can trust Wes Schweitzer to step in immediately and start for you moving forward. But if Chase Roullier and Tyler Larsen, who's also on the PUP list, are out, Wes Schweitzer is forced to be your starting center. because Keith Ishmael did what he could, but it wasn't good last season. He had moments, but overall he looked overwhelmed. And so if Chase Roullier is out, Tyler Larsen, technically a backup center, is out, and I would argue Wes Schweitzer is a better center than him. But again, Wes Schweitzer is so good at guard, you don't want him playing center. You want him to be available as a backup guard in case there's an injury. And again, now that Chase Roullier is back as your starting center, Wes Schweitzer is now your backup guard again, arguably the best backup guard in the NFL. But I feel like I just went on a whole rant about Wes Schweitzer in the Chase Roullier video. So let's get to Chase Roullier. First of all, Pro Football Focus felt like he was the 4th best center in the NFL last year with an 83.7 grade. The next closest guy was David Andrews with a 79.6, not even in the 80s. So he's one of 4 guys out of the entire NFL that was at least an 80 overall or above. And Creed Humphrey from the Kansas City Chiefs was the only 90 overall or above with a 91.8. But still, Chase Roullier has a grade closer to 3rd place Jason Kelce than 5th place David Andrews. And even if you don't feel like Chase Roullier is even a top 5 center, at the very least he's a top 8 center, at the very least. And even contract wise, it's a pretty solid contract. He's getting paid what he deserves. He's the 6th highest paid center in the NFL, making $125,000 per year less than Cody Whitehair from the Chicago Bears, and only $125,000 more than Rodney Hudson from the Cardinals. And when you hear those names, you definitely think Chase Roullier is the best out of that group. And again, I mean, I feel like at the very least he's a top 8 center. He's being paid like a top 6 center. I think that's solid value. It's not a steal, but he's making what he deserves. And luckily for us, he's on contract through 2024. And remember, the contract that he's currently on, we signed him to a 4-year, $40.5 million contract extension last January. But training camp wise, this is going to be really interesting because Wes Schweitzer now goes from your starting center to your backup guard and center. Again, Tyler Larsen is also still on the PUP list. Technically the 2nd string center according to depth chart, but again, Wes Schweitzer is definitely our 2nd best center, in my opinion. But now that means your starting 5 is Charles Leno, Andrew Norwell, Chase Roullier, Trey Turner, and Samuel Cosmi. The starting 5 that you expect to have going into the regular season, hopefully throughout the entire regular season and postseason, speaking it into existence. And now your backups, well, Cornelius Lucas right now is out for a strange unknown reason, but Ron Rivera said he should be back soon once he sees a doctor. So even though Sadiq Charles is technically your backup guard, he's technically next up at tackle as well. So right now your backup O-line, your 2nd team O-line is Wes Schweitzer as your starting center, who's the best out of our entire 2nd string O-line easily in my opinion. And then you probably have Sadiq Charles out there with him, Chris Paul, and then whoever else they feel like putting at the other tackle position, whether it be Willie Bevers or Nolan Laufenberg, Deion Calhoun, Aaron Montaro, whoever. But now this also affects Keith Ishmael, because with Chase Roullier and Tyler Larsen on the PUP list, that meant Wes Schweitzer was the starting center with the 1st team offensive line these first couple of days. And that meant for Keith Ishmael, he was the 2nd string center, getting reps with the 2nd team offense against the 2nd team defense. Now he's the 3rd string center, unless you want to do it to where Keith Ishmael is still the 2nd string center, and now Wes Schweitzer is one of your starting guards. Sadiq Charles may be one of the other guards. But now with Chase Roullier back, the 2nd string offensive line, if you see what I'm saying, gets really interesting because you can plug and play guys all over the place. You can have Wes Schweitzer as your center or your guard. Sadiq Charles can be guard or tackle. Keith Ishmael can step up and be a center if you have Wes Schweitzer at guard. So I think this is really interesting, especially competition wise, and this gives our defense a better look at what they can do. You prefer to have your healthiest and best offensive line out there so that you can truly see what your defensive line can do, especially backup wise, because we got to see what our backup defensive linemen can do. With us losing Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle interior wise and Chase Young still on the PUP list, we really need to see what these other guys can do, most notably Fedarian Mathis. So the healthier our interior offensive line is, the better competition that Fedarian Mathis has to practice up against, and the more he'll be prepared by the time the regular season comes. And lastly, as far as PUP list goes, like I already said, we expected Chase Roullier to be the first one off the PUP list. I didn't expect him to be off literally just 2 days in the training camp. So tomorrow will technically be his first day practicing, 3rd day of training camp. I guess they saw enough in the first 2 days to be like, all right, let's get him back. He looks good to go. Again, 100%, because with the PUP list, once you're on and get off, you can't go back on. So you got to make sure that guy's 100% healthy and ready to go. You got to. And I'm assuming they did that. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for sure. Next up, my guess would probably be Logan Thomas to be the next one to return. I would say Tyler Larsen's probably going to be 3rd. And then I would say Chase Young is probably going to be 4th and last off of the PUP list list out of all of the guys that are currently on the PUP list. Hopefully nobody else goes on to it. But again, in my honest opinion, we knew Chase Roullier was going to be first. I feel like that was the most obvious answer. And I feel like Chase Young being last is also fairly obvious as far as who's going to come off the PUP list. And I think in that middle, I think Logan Thomas will probably be next, right after Chase Roullier. And then it'll be Tyler Larson, and then again Chase Young. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Are you as excited as I am to have Chase Roullier back? Are you one of those fans that truly understands how underrated Chase Roullier is, even amongst our own fan base? Also, definitely make sure you like this video and leave a like on the way out. Also, appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially all my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.